The GB News Tavern is open. Drinks have been poured. But before I introduce my guest to you this evening, who's been a very successful rock and roll singer, an actress, presented radio shows, goodness knows what else she's done. But let's have a look at her. On Top of the Pops, the song is Can the Can, and it's 1973. Yes, I'm joined by Suzi Quatro on Talking Pints. Suzi, great stuff.
Cheers to you.
Very, very nice to see you.
Champagne. So they did. When they said, "What would you like?" I told them that I didn't think I'd actually get it.
Oh yes, yes. No expense spared for you. Absolutely. Looking at that clip of you in 1973, to get up on stage and do that, you must have had just bags of self-confidence and belief.
You do have to have self-belief. I believe in that. What I had was, what worked in my favor, was I knew that I wasn't like anybody else. So I couldn't find a niche in which to fit since I was a little girl. So what happens is you find your own niche, which is what I did.
Yeah, and so Detroit, an upbringing in Detroit, musical family, and you're out, playing in bands and singing, and you get talent spotted and taken away from the American Midwest to the United Kingdom. Tell us about that.
I was in bands from the age of 14, started playing bass. Then I am a schooled drummer and classical pianist, by the way, but started playing bass at 14. We went on the road right away. Pleasure Seekers, all-girl band, 64, all the way up to 1971. Mickey Most came to Detroit to record Jeff Beck at Motown, came to see the band, and offered me a solo contract. And it was the second time in 1 week that I'd been offered a solo contract. So that's the world telling you it's time to go.
Yeah, and Mickey Most, of course, was a very, very well-known talent spotter in those days. Yes. So it's kind of been, much of your life since 1971, when you arrived here, much of your life has been on this side of the pond.
Yes, it's so strange, but I'm always the American in England. Nobody ever thinks I'm English.
Okay.
Ever. But this is the longest I've ever lived anywhere. So
I'm sure.
Yeah, and I do like England. It took me a while to get used to it.
But it didn't take you very long to hit big success, did it? Because you come in 71, and we're watching you there in 1973, and there's a whole string of hits, right throughout that period of the 1970s.
Well, once it started.
Yeah.
And then I had my 9-year apprenticeship in bands and touring everywhere, and every gig God invented. And then in 73, I was just about 23, had my first #1, and then that started me on I've been in the business 58 years now. Mm. And it's unbelievable.
And you've sold 55 million records.
Yes.
You've been very, very successful. You've made money. You've done well. But so many people like you who suddenly hit this incredible, the level of fame you had when you were doing that on Top of the Pops. You became this big sex symbol. You did. Well, it's true, isn't it? It's true.
I blush.
But it's true, you did. Yeah. And a huge level of fame that you achieved. So many other people who went down that route, very talented singers, musicians,
sure.
Went down that route and spiraled into self-destruction, many of them dying incredibly young. Mm-hmm. Did you manage to avoid the excesses, or are you just a great survivor?
No, I've avoided them. My father instilled in me my work ethic. Mm-hmm. He's been gone for a while now, a musician. And when I was like 16, here's the answer to your question.
Yeah.
Although all his kids were in the business, he pulled me aside at home. And he said, "I want to talk to you." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Looks like you're serious about what you're doing." He knew I was going to be in it for my lifetime. I said, "I am." He said, "Okay, I have something to tell you." I said, "Yes." He said, "What you're doing is a profession. It's your job." And I went, "Right?" Mm-hmm. And he said, "So if you're playing for 10 people or 10,000, every single person in that audience has taken money out of their pocket and paid to see you, and you owe them. And that's my attitude.
So
I never felt the need to do excess. I just...
No, because but how do you deal with that level of fame? Because it did come very quickly, didn't it?
You deal with it by never for a moment thinking that because you're successful in your chosen field, that it makes you better than somebody else. It doesn't. And I'm very lucky I have an ego room at home.
Go on, tell us more.
You have to go up 2 flights of stairs. It's an Elizabethan manor house. I know, it's great, isn't it? And on the 3rd floor, you can bang your head and the walls are crooked, so it's an analogy, but it's real. And you finally get to a big, heavy wooden door, and I had a little plaque made, and the plaque says, "Ego room, mind your head." You go in, and it's everything: videos, scrapbooks, clothes, guitars, posters everywhere, stage passes, and you actually see the big red book, "This Is Your Life." The important thing
because
is,
you did that, didn't you?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
The important thing is, though, you come out of the room and you shut the door. This is how I stay normal. There's a place for the ego, and there's a place to put it away.
Interesting. Because, Elizabethan Manor House in rural England, it's a long way from Detroit, isn't it? In every sense.
It's. I can't believe that I'm living in an Elizabethan Manor House, and I come from Detroit. I mean, how more different can you be?
And what are the locals like? Are people friendly to you? How do you find the English?
I obviously, because I've been around so long now, I get recognized everywhere, and I always do the same, because I refuse to hide. From the time I got known, I refuse to hide. I say, if you want to see me, here I am. So I'll walk down the street in town, and somebody will go. And I'll look at them, and I'll go. That's the end of the confrontation. But they recognize me with my mask on. How is that possible?
Well, I guess because of television and Top of the Pops and all the other things that you've done. Even with the mask on.
Even with the mask on.
I found the mask a blessing, personally, because having been in politics, it's a 50-50 reaction I'm going to get. So I found it.
I think the plastic surgeons are a bit out of pocket.
Well, you're probably right.
Don't need the operation anymore.
But the singing, the music, and you're still doing it, and we're going to come to that in a moment. But the other bit of your career that really is fascinating and, kind of made you, well, not just big in this country, but America, the whole of the English-speaking world, that incredible series, Happy Days. And it was just, when I was a teenager, it was just cult stuff, and people loved it, and they'd organise their life around what time it was going to be on. How did that happen? How do you go from being this rock and roller to being an actress?
I always knew I could do that. I am an artiste.
Okay.
I'm an artiste. I'm an author. I'm a presenter on TV, on radio. I act. I've done musicals. I've written a musical. I'm an artiste. I like to stretch. Don't box me in. Don't box me in. They called me. I was on tour in Japan, and they had the script. For a long time, they were trying to find somebody who could act, somebody who was tough and vulnerable at the same time, and possibly could sing. Hello.
There you were.
There I was.
But it was and it was called Happy Days, but it actually was a very, very joyful, happy programme. It must have been fun to do.
It was great fun to do, and I made some good friends on that. I'm still in pretty much constant email with Henry and Ron, and we go back and forth, and they've always supported me, given me quotes from my books. And in fact, in my documentary that was released at the end of 2019, Suzi Quatro, Henry's quote at the end was my favorite. He just touched my heart, But it was a great show to do. And in fact, Ronnie said to me, because we were talking, and I said, did I ever feel like a new actress to you or new to the show? And he said, no. You felt like you'd acted all your life, and you felt like you'd always been in the show. So it was one of those things that was fated to be, and it felt natural and correct.
Now, all those years you were at Radio 2, and you were presenting, and you were looking at music and new music. Am I right in thinking that the music scene in the UK is really very, very strong still?
It's very...
Strong?
What do you mean?
Vibrant, strong, we're doing well.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I go to America. The records I hear in the car in America, I hear more English, British songs.
Oh, you want me to praise the British and...
Well, I'm just trying to... I mean, it strikes me that America culturally leads us in terms of film and many other things. We need each other.
You need each other.
Yeah.
The British are more prone to accepting something brand new. Mm-hmm. They'll give it a shot. Mm-hmm. Like, when I first started to go back to America when I was touring, like in early 74, with my English band with hits under my belt, I turned on the radio and all I heard was Linda Ronstadt or the Eagles. Right. They get kind of stuck in a time warp. But you do feed off each other.
Yeah.
American feeds off Britain and Britain feeds off America.
The countries are incredibly close, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
Culturally.
Yeah, what is it Winston Churchill said? 2 countries divided by a common language. And I can tell you that's exactly correct.
But Suzi, far from even contemplating anything as dull, as boring, as mundane as retirement, you're getting ready for another big concert. So tell us all about it.
Big one, big one, big one. April the 20th, I'm playing the Royal Albert Hall, my solo show, 2 hours with an interval. I've been doing this show for about 5 or 6 years now. Yep. And it's my favorite kind of thing because I can take you through my life. Nobody says, oh, you're on and off of the... I can do what I want.
That's it. They've paid their money. They've come to see you.
And I've worked out my intro. Ready?
Come on, share it.
The Queen of Rock and Roll is playing the Royal Albert Hall. And I'm going to turn this into this. Is that allowed to say?
I think it's all right, I mean, the Queen of Rock and Roll, which you have been called many, many times. Yeah. I wish you really well with this concert on the 20th of April. I have to say, just huge congratulations, really.
Thank you.
What's been the best bit?
The best bit, that's so hard to say. I've had so many highlights. You know what? The thing I'm most proud of is that I've been able to be successful for so many years and basically feet on the ground. That, to me, is a real accomplishment.
It is a real
I'm approachable. I'm normal-ish. I said it to my friend Lindsay DePaul, bless her, we had lunch one time, and we were talking, and I said, I'm normal, Lindsay, and she went, that's my memory of her.
I don't think if you've got creative talent, you're necessarily normal.
No, you're never going to be normal.
I think you're perhaps exceptional. But the feet on the ground point is a very, very good one. And that's perhaps why you have, kept going forever, not, as I said, self-destructed, as so many other people in rock and roll.
I take it serious.
Seem to do. No, you do take it seriously.
When I get on that stage, I'm going to entertain you.
No,
and if you don't go out happy, that's not your fault, that's my fault.
Well, I'm absolutely certain that on the 20th of April at the Royal Albert Hall, people will go out very, very happy. Last question. When you listen to music, what do you most like to listen to?
People ask me this, it's so crazy. Because I do rock and roll for a living, and I'm always writing it, rock and roll is everything, I tend to go opposite. I do Frank Sinatra, I do Gene Pitney, I do Bob Dylan, I do Tom Petty, I do Dory Previn, I do just everybody but rock and roll. Because it's my relaxation.
It's your time off.
Yeah.
I get that. And having worked as hard as you have, you no doubt deserve it. Suzi Quatro, thank you for joining me on Talking Pints.
Thank you.
Cheers.